Welcome back and prepare to be bedazzled because today I'm going to be shedding light on why you should always be profusely applying to real private sector employee jobs based on voluntary demand if you currently have an employee job, are not going to work as an entrepreneur, and do not have enough money to be able to afford to retire. So why does this happen to be the case, you may ask? Without further ado, without further delay, without further procrastination, allow me to demystify the answer to that inquiry right here, right now. Lamentably, much to my dismay, much to my consternation, much to my chagrin, much to my grief, much to my agony, much to my agitation, and much to my irritation, most real private sector employed jobs based on voluntary demand are often deemed to be dead-end, highly time-depleting, debilitating, minimum wage, dispiriting, unfulfilling, undesirable, harrowing, distressful, brutally wretched, ineffably agonizing jobs that not only dispossess an employee out of almost over sacrosanct time, but that also do not furnish him with anywhere close to even one-fourth of a subsistence wage for affording housing. Furthermore, most real private sector employed jobs based on voluntary demand do not provide any benefits nor any pensions to the real private sector employees who work them. Moreover, most real private sector employee jobs based on voluntary demand do not provide any semblance of job security nor job stability. At any given moment, on a whim, you could get abruptly terminated from your real private sector employee position. Almost all the profits that the companies generate are reserved for the executives in tandem with the shareholders. If you're not a part of that niche cohort, then expect to be doled out a minimum wage by a real private sector employer if he does not renege on his payroll obligations to furnish you with remuneration for providing him with labor. Moreover, if working real private sector employee jobs is your only source of income, then it will provide you with a 0% chance to attain financial stability and a 0% chance to attain financial security. The emolument that it provides you is not enough to be able to obtain your basic needs of housing and transportation. If you receive a minimum wage, it's going to furnish you with a negligible amount of purchasing power. So if you're going to abstain, desist, and refrain from working as an entrepreneur for whatever reason, and if you do not have enough fiat currency to be able to afford to retire, then it would behoove you to profusely apply to real private sector employed jobs based on voluntary demand, irrespective of whether or not you currently have a real private sector employed job based on voluntary demand. If you currently have a real private sector employed job based on voluntary demand, and if you ceaselessly, unremittingly, and incessantly apply to real private sector employed jobs based on voluntary demand, you will eventually receive interview requests from real private sector employers. If you pivot to working a new real private sector employee job based on voluntary demand that provides you with $5 more per hour, then it will increase your gross revenue by $10,400. If you pivot to working a disparate real private sector employee job based on voluntary demand that provides you with $10 more per hour, then it will furnish you with an additional $20,800 in gross revenue. This is presuming that you're going to be pursuant of a real private sector employed job based on voluntary demand on a full-time basis. And if that's going to be the case, and for every additional dollar that an employer offers you, it will amplify your gross revenue by $2,080. So even if a new employer is amenable to offering you $2 more per hour than your current real private sector employer, it will culminate in furnishing you with an additional $4,000 $160 in gross revenue per year. So you want to increase your annual emolument. You want to significantly amplify your remuneration. You want to be able to have enough fiat currency to fund your basic needs. If you have a dearth of fiat currency, then you will not be able to afford your utmost lowest level basic needs. So, to recapitulate in some succinctly stated, if you currently have a real private sector employee job based on voluntary demand, are recalcitrant about working as an entrepreneur, and do not have enough fiat currency to be able to afford to retire, then it would behoove you to profusely apply to real private sector employee jobs based on voluntary demand for the prospect of amplifying your hourly wage. It would be preferable to be a salaried employee over an employee who receives an hourly wage. However, that's not always an option that is furnished to you by a real private sector employer. If you are going to work for an hourly wage, then you could be pursuant of a position that is aligned with your core competencies and that offers you the maximum amount of remuneration per hour. You cannot recover your time once it has been depleted. It is non-replenishable. Your time is invaluable, precious, and sacrosanct. So, even if you just pivot to working for another employer who's offering you $3 more an hour, that will still make a difference in terms of how much purchasing power you have. If you're receiving $3 more per hour, then it's going to culminate in you being furnished with $6,240 more in gross revenue on an annual basis if you were to be pursuant to that position full-time in lieu of pursuing the position that you are currently working. So, I hope that you deem this video to be riveting, captivating, mesmerizing, insightful, engrossing, and enthralling. I hope that you are entrenched in the underlying epicness. Have a blissful day. Goodbye.